Right, okay, what we're going to look at today is how another way we can increase food production. And again, it links back to some of the stuff you did last year on plant biology. And we'd have looked at minerals that the plants need to grow. So that's one thing we can look at. So what we're going to look at is how you can use fertilizers to increase crop yield. And then also, because if you've got good plants, then obviously other things want to eat them. It's not just humans that want to eat these plants. So obviously, how we can control pests and the advantage of disadvantage of using pesticides in comparison to a biological control. So if we just start at this graph here, this graph, if we think about what it says, you can see the crop yields in the EU and North America are hugely different to what they are in like sub-Saharan Africa or parts of South Asia. So we've got to think why that is, and a lot of it is to do with the amount of um, pesticides and also fertilizers that are put on the crop. So you can see here, this is the amount of yield. This is the yield's just how much you get, so how many kilograms per hectare you get, and this is showing how much chemical and fertilizer is being applied. So the more fertilizer that gets applied, um, the bigger the yield. So you're getting more crops from the same amount of land. So that's why so whether there's difference in those two graphs you can see here, they may have put um, more fertilizers on. And by fertilizer, I don't mean like fertilizing the flowers. It's fertilizer in terms of putting stuff into the soil to make it more fertile, so it's more it can produce more more crops. So, like we said, two differences accounts. The differences between Europe and America is the use of such chemicals and as fertilizers and pesticides to increase the yield. So fertilizers, they come in two, well, fertilizers come in two different types. You've got your inorganic ones, which contain compounds such as nitrates, phosphates. Remember, you had your NPK from last year when you're looking at plants. So your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium, they're going to help the plants grow. But you can also have organic ones, which will be like manure, dead plants that will get put onto fields. So they're providing it to help the plants grow very, very well. Um, and they increase the growth of crops and therefore the yield. So that's one thing to be doing. Another thing is obviously if our plants are growing really well, then other things want a piece of the action. So it's not just, as I said, it's not just humans that are going to be eating it. It will be little insects, plants, birds, anything like that. So we need to get rid of those. So again, we're using pesticides to control pests such as insects and weeds, because if the soil's fertile, then the weeds want to grow as well. So you have pesticides which are, well, which if they're just kill insects, they'll be called insecticide, and if they're called plants, they're called herbicides. But a pesticide is just a chemical that is going to get rid of anything that we don't want, and a pest is just anything we don't want. And a lot of the time, we just spray chemicals on there. So if we have like if you've got like a wasp nest, then you might just spray chemicals on there to get rid of it. And the good thing about this with crops is you can just spray them. It's fast, effective, it's cheap, it's easy to use. Um, so it just like kills everything off. The disadvantage is obviously people don't like the idea of like pesticides being on their food. Sometimes it can be dangerous. It can kill good animals like the honeybee. There's nicotinoids which are used in, well, they've been banned in Europe now because they're killing off the bees. Um, but it needs to be reapplied, and it can lead to resistance as well. So animals become and pests become resistant to it. So then we end up with like super ones. So we have to use more of the stuff. Now, we don't always have to use chemicals. There are biological controls, and that's using a predator or parasites to control a pest. So, might be using like a ladybird. I think it might be a ladybird here. We'll say it's a ladybird, which will then can then kill off and eat the other animals, or it might lay eggs in it. It does take a while for these to work, but they're environmentally friendly. They don't use pesticides. They do not kill off other animals. They're specific to what they are. The trouble is, it can be expensive to set up. It's slow, and it's obviously not going to be as effective because it's not going to the bird the biological control isn't going to wipe out the entire species. So that's just a quick introduction to how we can increase yields. Obviously, first thing is to boost the fertility of the soil. Second thing is to stop anything else destroying our plant or using the nutrients in the soil. What I want you guys to do today is within Google Classroom, I have put this document. this document here, which is called Fertilizers, Pest Control and the Green Revolution. You've got the same graph that we spoke to you about at the beginning. I was just wanting to talk about the trends in there. What's the difference between them? Obviously, you will get on your exam paper, you'll get questions about graphs. Make sure you can answer all these questions. Find out the difference between chemical pest control and biological pest control. And I'll also put a link to this video in there, which talks about parasitic wasps and how they end up laying their eggs in little aphids, and then it bursts out. So you can find out about those, which is quite good. So yeah, just finish off the work that's on that worksheet, and then watch some of these videos, and that'll be your work for today. Thank you very much.